Good evening, and today is pocket fives. So in this hand we have a limp, and then it's to me, the limper. I only have 6 hands. He's played 50% of them, so I'm going to assume, actually he doesn't limp, he min raises. I'm going to assume that he's probably doing something fairly wide. Definitely not going to be a strong hand, so probably I'm going to say would have probably raised more standard with that range. I think we'll be a little bit tighter here with the suited connectors. That's 20%. Maybe a little bit wider. Maybe he has these offsuit connectors, but I'm going to go for there. So that middle position player, and I'll say this again, that this is a standard call, but with that min raise, it's just overly weak that I do think we should be expanding our range. I don't have a whole lot on this guy, only 12 hands. This guy, I don't, out of 728 hands, he's called 2 bets, 11%. I'm not worried about him. I'm not worried about him either with 83 hands. So I do think this is what I should be playing. So I called, big blind called too. Big blind's probably playing a somewhat tighter range. So if I went to my big blind versus, calling range, definitely something like this. Probably also suited aces, probably suited connectors is what a lot of people play. Possibly the ace, any ace, and offsuit broadways, just standard. He tends to be tighter at 20% VPIP, 8% preflop raise, so I'm going to get rid of these suited aces and say he'll probably do something like that. And a player like this, 8% pre-flop raise, I don't expect him to 3-bet a whole lot, especially from the big blind. And I don't. I've got 1 out of 10 hands, so I think from the big blind he's probably just going to raise that kings plus ace king. That gives him about 20% hands. I think that's a suitable range. So we're going to go to a flop right now. Here's my hand. I've got 6.18%. I've got 82 combos. And we see a board of Jack 9-8. Kind of scary for our hand, but you have to think about how does that stack up? How does my range stack up against their range? So definitely, I think this is a board that could hit any of theirs range. His weaker hands are going to be hitting that a lot. 2-pair, open enders. It could be a made straight, could be trips, could be flush draw. Same thing with villain 3, definitely. So I do think we're going to have to be a little bit cautious. Villain 3 checks. I think he's going to be checking most everything. He does donk flop 20%, but this isn't a board to really donk. You've got, potential straight, potential flush on board. So I don't think he's going to be betting like jack, queen jack hands. I don't think he's going to be betting, jack little or 9 little. It's just this isn't a board to see a donk. He checks. Villain 6 checks, and that's a little bit surprising. He has the lead. He's in, second to act, only one person. So I would have expected, him to be betting like top pair plus, maybe pocket tens. I expect him to bet, and then I think flush draw, open and straight draws, I think are always going to be betting. So I'm going to exclude those from his range. Maybe the gut shots check, and combo draws would probably be betting. So I'm going to give him kind of a weak range. So now it's on me, and the question is, what should I bet? I don't think I should really be betting a whole lot. Even with the set, because if we bet a set and get raised, it's going to be tough. I mean, we could see Queen 10 raising us with a set. I think if we had the straight, I think we would check here. So I kind of think we're going to be checking about 100% of our range just to see what happens on the turn. Just more as a little bit pot control and to be a little bit deceptive. So with our weaker hands, yeah, we're checking, but even with our stronger hands, we're checking. I don't see a reason for betting because very weak hands are just going to fold. Whereas if they see a turn and they catch a piece of it, they might call 1-bet. and better hands are definitely going to be calling. So I did check, and that's going to be 100% of my range, and I'm going to go with that 100% of my range here. So I got 100%. I have 68 combos here. Two of spades doesn't change anything, and I think this is where we're gonna start getting a little bit more information on hands. So we already had this player; he was already selected. This guy now checks again. I do think he's gonna probably be checking straights, but I think a set and two pairs is gonna be betting. I think over pair is gonna bet. I also think top pair is gonna probably bet, and the pocket tens I think are gonna bet. Um, I do think flush draws and open and straight draws could check. So kind of like that, this kind of range minus, let's get rid of those because we don't want them included in with any of those draws. So I think that's his checking range. And then villain 6 checks again. And again, I think sets are going to be betting, so I think we're just looking at that, and even the straights. I think the draws would have been betting. Maybe he has them, maybe he doesn't, but I would assume, he's not gonna. He had initiative. He's not gonna let it go through, or most players don't let it go through. So something weak. So you can see that like right now I'm at 54%, and that means then I think at this point we should be betting a lot of our range. Um, and that's going to be like probably all of our pairs or all our middle pairs. So 10-9 is gonna work. I think our weak pairs should be like sevens probably. I don't think sixes or fives. I think sevens, because of a 10 we have an outside chance that our straight, even though it's a dummy into the straight. I think if anything, those sevens are going to probably be more for bluffs. But we do have equity if someone happens to have a better pair. I think we're going to be betting our flush draws, our open enders. I think our gut shots we could be betting, our 1 and 2 card gut shots. So you can see that we're definitely going to have much more bluffs than value in this case. We're hoping to take advantage of players that are pretty weak. So I didn't have a check. So at this point, we're going to eliminate that. Let's use red for that. And so no made hands. We'll get rid of those, and we're gonna get rid of all of those. So you can see definitely with my check, my hands just become a lot weaker with that check. And I think that's the advantage of betting. And believe it or not, I mean, you can see I've got sixes and fives, and that's a very, very tight, very, very narrow range. Because that really should be betting. That aggressive poker is winning poker. 2 of diamonds, and I think that's great. If they called, I think we could check behind with our bluff catchers. I think we could bet for value with our jacks or better. So top pair or better. I think we could probably bet again with some of our missed draws, as long as if we had like a king of clubs as a second nut flush draw, we could bet. Maybe our busted straight draws we could bet. Definitely it would make sense if they had the ace of clubs that they would call on the turn. So both players check, and again he checks, and I just think it's going to be extremely weak. We're dealing with nothing. Ace high, probably weak pair. Middle pair, the nines. I don't know. I think he might go for some value with the nines. We can include it in here. This player, same thing. At best, middle pair. And I've got fives or sixes. So king queen for this player. King queens, that's nothing. Definitely he's going to be folding. Sixes for this player. Definitely had him in his range as a weak pair, and we had fives, right? That was in that checking range. So I think our mistake came on the turn. I like the flop. check because it's kind of hard to specify a betting and a checking range. So I think it's probably better just check everything on the flop and then make our move on the turn. All right, so hopefully you like this hand. If look tomorrow for another hand.